Chronic late payments. Disregard for the property. There must be a limit, right? Let's face it, nobody wants to evict a tenant, but sometimes it becomes necessary. But when can you take action? Knowing your rights and responsibilities is critical. Let's break down eviction grounds and how to navigate this sometimes tricky situation. It's important to note that you can't simply kick a tenant out without following the proper legal procedures. This can lead to serious consequences for landlords, including fines and legal action. Eviction laws can vary depending on your location, depending on your county or state, but there are some general guidelines to keep in mind. So when exactly can you evict a tenant? Well, here are some common reasons. Number one, non-payment of rents. This is a big one and perhaps the most common reason for eviction. If your tenant fails to pay rent on time, after the 6th day of being late, you may have the ability to issue a notice to pay or quit. After this time frame expires, in most areas, you will have the right to begin an unlawful detainer or eviction. Number two is lease violations. If a tenant is breaching the lease agreement, this can be grounds for eviction. This could include things like unauthorized pets, damaging the property, nuisances, or even failure to provide access when properly posted. Number three, end of the lease term. If the lease term is up and the tenant does not want to renew and has not vacated the property, in some cases you can legally evict them to find a new tenant, provided you give them the proper notice depending on local laws. In so much as the property is not covered by the Tenant Protection Act. Now, before you evict, it's important to remember that eviction is a legal process. You should definitely consult with an attorney because there are specific steps that you need to follow. And violating even one of those steps could delay or start the entire process over from the beginning. Here are a few crucial things to keep in mind. Document everything. Keep copies of all lease agreements, rent receipts, and all communications with the tenant regarding any lease violations. Follow notice procedures. Depending on your location, there are specific types of notices that need to be completed a specific way before you can begin an eviction proceeding. Seek legal advice. Eviction laws can get very complicated, especially in certain areas of the state. It's always important to consult with a landlord, tenant, and attorney to make sure you do this right. So, what are the basic processes of the eviction proceeding? Number one, serve a notice. Depending on the reason for eviction, you will need to serve the tenant with a specific type of notice. It could be a notice to pay or quit, a notice to terminate lease, notice of termination of tenancy. The second thing is wait for a response. The tenant will have a legally mandated time to respond to whatever notice you've posted. The third step, potentially, could be filing for the eviction. If the tenant does not comply, you can file for eviction. And then the final step will be a court hearing where a judge will hear your case and decide whether or not to grant the eviction. Remember that eviction is generally a last resort. Open communication with your tenant and a proactive approach to maintenance can often prevent the need for an eviction altogether. If you have any questions about dealing with a challenging tenant or need help navigating this process, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help you be a successful landlord, and that includes avoiding eviction altogether if possible. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Jordan Bennett with Jordan Bennett & Associates. Like and subscribe for more great real estate tips.